All right, cool. Good to finally be back on track. All right. So let's discuss something. So let's. Oh, um. So pretty much following up Tuesday's call, and we were pretty much discussing whether we could get a reaction from said POI. And the reason why this was very unappealing was because we showed the intention of wanting to come lower, but inevitably, right, this break of structure led to another break of structure. So what is that? A structural disruption, meaning that we wanted to come lower but couldn't. So because you cannot go in one direction, then you have to go in the other direction. And that's exactly what pretty much what happened, based on the fact that we acknowledged a structural disruption. So because that is in play, right, this is pretty much creating a bias, because this structural disruption gave us a narrative of a bullish outcome, because we were able to take out a previous high. We took a previous high. After that, we see a very clear turbulence point, and that is where we mitigated right after news, I believe. This was, I believe, news on Wednesday, was it? Yeah, I think so. But as you can see, news, an excuse. But this was very conflicting, because this is the POI that we had mentioned a couple weeks back, I believe, a couple even months back, maybe. No, yeah, about a month ago. But the thing is this POI, we had already missed it once, given a reaction, and then inevitably came back due to the cause that we mentioned, I believe, 2 weeks ago. So because that has happened, this POI, although it is still valid, it is a lot harder to justify, because for one, we missed it and we gave a reaction, which inevitably led to fail. So even though we got a pretty decent reaction, right, you could have played both scenarios in terms of the bullish intraday, bullish major intraday, but the overall potential reversal could occur based on the POI, and the POI was valid. The POI was valid, gave a reaction, but we came back into a turbulence point, which the turbulence point then led to cause a external disruption. External because we have now exited the previous range. So the previous range has now been taken, and this is showing every single sign of bullishness, right? So because we saw this bullish move, there really is no reason, right, as to why this shouldn't continue. Would not make sense to me this to reverse anytime soon. But if we're really wanting to be very picky with structure, right, this is the next viable point of reference. But because we already created a solidified high as the pullback of the range, and even came to take liquidity, and now gave a push to the upside, this is now looking bullish, right? At least for the short term, right? I don't want to say long term until we break here. And the reason why this high is very important is because this is the character shift, right? You see strong momentum. Now this is where the momentum starts to shift. So this is very crucial in terms of our high and low, the final high and low, right? That neither has been broken. So if we are to get a reaction here, it has to be a very strong reaction in order for me to want to change my bias, because we have everything supporting the bullish narrative. And it all started, right, with the cause, right, that we mentioned 2 weeks ago. I believe 2.5 weeks ago, something like that. So the cause led to the effect of taking previous preliminary structure and of challenging previous highs, giving us a bullish bias, right? So this cause is still in play, and that is the reason why this move is still continuing higher. Why? Because the cause, right, like we said, took out preliminary structure and challenged previous highs, gave us a bullish narrative. So this is a technically low risk continuation. The only issue is that, you know, there is a lot of inefficiency here and there isn't really clear POI. So that is why, from a conservative standpoint, right, once we came and started to push to the downside, right, this high, low, right, gave us the incentive from an intraday perspective to want this bias. But then that is obviously negated by the structural disruption, which led to another bullish narrative. And this is your conservative entry based on news. Technically from a bias perspective. Obviously, right, we've been pretty much bullish since here. But now it's really just a matter of what we're going to do inside of this POI, because if this POI breaks, I don't see any type of reason as to why we should still continue lower. So if we do break this, I would say for the medium term, we will for sure be bullish, which is weird, because then our 3-month closure is about to come in a month and 11 days. So we'll see how, you know, how this reacts, how this closes. This will be very crucial for Q4, as well as the monthly, right? Because we already showed a willingness based on the previous closure to want to continue lower, but we were unable to continue lower, and we continued higher. So that could be that is a type of disruption. Right now it's just a matter of why the disruption occurred, right? Because the POI that we have signaled is a valid POI because we took liquidity and gave a strong move to the downside. So let's see how this plays out, and we'll pretty much go from there. As for AU, right, this makes all the sense in the world now, in my opinion, just because, right, we discussed the entry, the most recent entry, and I believe that was a couple weeks ago. It was on Zoom, but based on where we've been over the past week or so, this bearish move does not surprise me. This bearish move signals the fact that bearish order flow is still intact, bearish structure is still intact, right? So from a daily perspective, right, if we now come to take this previous low, this is very significant. Although, as you can see, we are clearly in a POI right now, and so if next week we cause a type of reversal, this could be leading to, honestly, new highs if we actually react from here and take preliminary structure. But if we are to take this level of structure out, then that means that the final leg to the upside has now been taken, making this unwillingness based on high, low. So high, low, potential retracement. And if that does break, then it could literally be free fall, or at least coming back down into a deep premium. But that has already printed the picture, right? If, in case you didn't understand, from a structural perspective, this is where solidified highs and solidified lows really come into play. And it all started, right, with this move from June 11, 2 months ago. This told the entire bias, which is why my entries weren't in place until here, right? I was waiting for this. In case you remember, when we were taking this high, we were fully bullish. But as soon as this took liquidity and then led to the conversion here via a bearish liquidity grab, that creates the bearish structural range, high, low retracement, high, low retracement. And this internal SR was what gave me the initial entry, and that is what gave us the first initial push. So after that, right, you obviously need a pullback, which is where this comes into play. From a directional standpoint, we have to mitigate. This is a potential turbulence point on internal time frames, maybe. Yep. Interruption before the full move concludes. As soon as that happened, right, we have the H2 wick here. And this is what caused me to break even here, but I did not. I know, so I believe Falco was it that capitalized on this, but this mitigation, right, although this move to the upside does invalidate the bullish bias, just because we did take preliminary levels of structure, it changed as soon as we took internal structure. As soon as we take internal structure, we have our pullback. Obviously, you need to take preliminary levels of structure in order to reach the pullback. So now it's high, low, retracement, continuation, retracement, continuation. Right? So from a bias perspective, the bias never shifted. And as we said before, this looked the most bearish out of EU and GU, in my opinion. Just because the picture was painted way before EU and GU were, in my opinion. Like GU was the tricky one. Right, what we said on Tuesday, right, was the fact that we had this preliminary break of structure. This preliminary break of structure was actually a mitigation, excuse me, a mitigation which led to a break of structure. So this is now a solidified point here because of, excuse me, my preliminary structure break here. This is now a solidified low. So because our solidified low is taken via a mitigation to the downside, we have bearish structure, bearish order flow. Bearish order flow, right, our invalidation is up here, as we mentioned on Tuesday. And as you can see, that invalidation was never met. That's why we continued lower. But it made sense because the picture was painted here. Once the picture is painted, right, you see the result. And that is why these swings are very big per se, because of how big the cause is. So cause effect. If this, then that, right? Logic makes sense. Conversion effect. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because, right, and it's a conversion, right, because this is a structural disruption as well, based on the fact that we had a push to the upside making us bullish, but then a conversion making us bearish. So just as you can see it on a scalp time frame, you can see it on a swing time frame, and that is how you get your bigger moves, right? Hence, and that pretty much emphasizes the fractal nature. I don't really use that word. I think it's too commonly used, but that emphasizes that what happens on smaller time frame happen on higher time frame as well. But it happens via the structural disruption. Without the structural disruption, we cannot make that judgment, right? So yeah, I probably, if I need to add more examples of that, if you guys don't understand it from the video, please let me know. But that brings us to EU, right? Same thing with I believe DXY, right? Structural disruption as well. This one wouldn't surprise me if we actually came back lower as well, right? I would even anticipate that, the 50% here, even though it is an H4 candle, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue lower next week, right? Because we're starting to show that bullish sentiment potential by giving even a preliminary structure break there. And if that happens, right, that's only the pullback of our solidified high and low, because we took preliminary structure, solidified low, because we took structure, solidified high. But you get what I mean. This honestly it looks very bearish. It looks even more bearish than the XY looks bullish, in my opinion. And that's just because of the structural disruption. Structural disruption occurs on a bigger scale, you get a bigger move. So this could even melt, right? Obviously now, if you take out the H4 candle, then that is a shift in structure, a shift in order flow to the upside. But we cannot assume that just yet, right? For the meantime, we are still bearish, and I cannot assume otherwise, right? And it's because of the structural disruption that the POI here didn't work. Let's take this out. right? So because of the structural disruption on a higher scale, that makes sense as to why this, right, could not be a valid POI or a justified position in my eyes, right? Because as we dive in, remember what we showed on our 30-second here, right, is that this mitigation needed to take out previous structure in order for me to fully change the bias and not quote unquote pick a low, right? That obviously did not happen. This continued, so I had no reason for a bullish bias, right? Because if this takes previous high, then that emphasizes bearish order flow on top of bearish structure, on top of bullish liquidity grab. So because that didn't happen, I cannot assume so, right? So when we're looking at this from an intraday perspective, this does look bullish, right? Low, high. But when in doubt, zoom out. That is why we emphasize overall structure. And based on what we know, we've already seen structural disruption once, and that led to a bearish break of structure. So that shows to me, right, that we are bearish, right? And if you even zoom into the range, right, this already tried to give us a push higher, an intention to push higher, right? And if you're looking at the final push to the downside, that was met, making this a solidified low, right? And so this is now a solidified high because we took structure here, right? So then we took preliminary structure, and this is now solidified low, high, low, retracement, continuation, right? Unfortunately, this was 4 in the morning for me, so I couldn't trade that. But you guys see what I mean. Could even see the 50% of our wick here, right? Very straightforward because you understand structure, you understand structural disruption, because this is again a type of structural disruption, a structural conversion, which led to the effect of melt, right? So does that make sense? Cool. Very straightforward. Very straightforward in my opinion, but it makes all the sense in my opinion as to why we continued lower, and that's why my bias didn't change even on Tuesday. But I mean, that's pretty much quick overview. For now, this is very overextended, and this is also for GU and AU. They're all super overextended. So trying to take another continuation position might be hard, which is why I like to be conservative. And even though our intraday may be bullish, right? Even if I get a scalp conversion, bad demonstration. Even if I get a scalp bearish movement and we're still intraday bullish, then I know we are still major intraday and swing bearish. So that's the only way I could justify a position. But other than that, I mean, very straightforward this whole week. You guys have any questions? Yeah, that's also kind of what I'm waiting for as well. It's a bit confusing now trying to trade this. The only reasonable decision I could probably make is attempt a hedge position, but I don't really want to do that on Friday, if I'm being honest. Because look at how our weekly is going to close. Look at how that weekly is going to close. I mean, like, no reason to try to pursue a hedge. You see what I'm saying? Like, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see. All right, once again, cause, excuse me, effect. see it everywhere. But yeah, do you guys have any questions, concerns, anybody?
Hey bro, Ash here.
Uh-huh.
I had a little doubt regarding solidified high-low concepts, so I have just pasted a link in chat. Can you open it?
Uh-huh.
So, like it's a range of solidified highs and lows. So here we got a low. Sorry, wait a second. This is solidified low, this is solidified high just because we broke preliminary structure.
Mm-hmm.
Here also we did that. Here
Mm-hmm.
also we did that. So this is solidified high. But here we don't have any preliminary structure. So will this be a solidified low? And same for this high as well. Because same for this low as well. Because there
So
is no
let me see.
structure.
So how do you determine, so if there is a big move like this, right? Let's say this is H1. Then
Okay.
I would probably, this would be maybe a major intraday per se. Maybe my minor intraday might still be like this. So then I would go to my scalp structures, because you need a structure break for this to occur. No matter what, whether it's seconds time frames, microseconds time frames, or whether this is a H4 leg and a M15 structure break, meaning swing and minor intraday, there always has to be some type of break of structure to begin a pullback, to begin a new trend, right? So in the terms, hold 1 second. So when you're thinking of this, it's hard for me to explain to you in this type of diagram. I'd rather you show me a chart, an actual chart, not a schematic per se.
Okay, so you are saying that if there is a solidified low in this condition on smaller time frames, then I should consider that on smaller time
Because
frames
because
because
inside
there
of
is
here.
no structure here on 1 hour. Like
Mhm.
if this was for 1 hour time frame.
Mhm.
Okay, and also had another chart.
Okay, if you have another chart, that'd be better. Thank you.
I pasted it.
Okay.
So here I see you that most of the times you do this and like it's a liquidity grab and this becomes a solidified low.
Why?
That's my question because there is no preliminary structure here to break. So uh, I had a doubt that is this a solidified low in your eyes?
Only until that breaks.
Yeah, after this breaks,
Mhm.
then is this a solidified low because there was no preliminary structure? This was the high of the range and this was the low of the range.
Well, that is the high of a scalp range. Yes. But if you zoom out, that is probably, or if you zoom in to seconds time frames here, you will probably see something too.
Okay, okay, okay. Got you. So when you do this thing like this thing, so sometimes we get a preliminary structure here, so this becomes a solidified low. But if we don't have any immediate structure here to break, so every time this will not become a solidified low, in my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm. Wait, say that one
So
more time. I'm sorry, say that one more time.
like this here it took the liquidity and broke to the downside and broke this immediate structure, so this is a solidified high, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we didn't have any preliminary structure like this here, and it was something like,
Let me ask you something.
I couldn't
Let
explain.
me
I
ask you
couldn't.
something. Let me ask you something. Whenever
Yes,
I've
yes,
talked about, even in this call, when I've talked about solidified structure and anything like that, what time
yes.
frames have I been using?
Like all the time frames, like
No,
1 hour,
this
2
call
minutes.
specifically. What time frames have I been using today?
So when you were explaining that structure disruption, you used 1 hour as well, and when you went on 30 seconds, you showed that concept on that as well.
No, what did I use on this call? I'm not saying what do I use other times. I'm talking about today.
Yeah, today only you used once when you were explaining that 1 hour structure disruption.
Uh
So
huh.
on that you showed solidified high,
Uh huh.
and on 30 seconds as well, as I remember.
Where on this call did you see me trying to analyze solidified highs, lows continuously on M1?
Okay, so you are just saying that we should
Because
do
what? No,
that
no, no,
on
hold, no,
higher
no.
time
Just
frame.
answer the question because I'm getting to a point. When in this
Actually, I
call,
couldn't recall. I couldn't
okay,
recall.
exactly because I didn't. So, let me tell you something. Whenever I'm using solidified highs in terms of structure, with my M15's H1, that's solely for directional bias. Whenever I'm on M1, this is now when you start using models. This is now when you start using entry protocols,
Right.
right?
So,
So, what
yes.
you're getting confused because you're trying to include so much detail in such with such little information.
Okay, got you.
And
The
so,
thing is, when I
because you,
trail my
uh huh,
stops,
I'm sorry.
when I trail my stops in a position, then I do it like on 1 minute and 5 minute. Whenever I get assume that let's assume that I'm in a short. So if I get a
I'd
solidified
rather not
high on,
assume. I'd rather have you show me something because we can't just go off what if all the time.
okay,
Like
okay, got
I need a scenario, right? Everything I've said is based on scenarios, not based on let's think this, let's think that.
No, no, I'm just saying that whenever
Uh huh.
I'm in a position, I trail my stops regarding with this concept. Like whenever like I'm in a short, then I trail my stops on the consecutive solidified highs.
Uh huh.
So I do that on smaller time frames. So that's why I was using it most of the times in
Okay.
1 minute and 5 minutes.
Uh huh.
So that's I was having that now.
Okay. So let's say you have a buy position here, and you say you try
Okay.
your stops, right? So
Yes.
up until here, this is not a trailed stop yet. It's until you see this to where you can trail your stop here.
You're right. And that's what I
But
do.
here's the issue with that. Here's the issue with that. You can trail your stops, right? Every solidified low, right? And let's
Yeah.
say this is M1, right? You can keep doing that, right? This I'm assuming this is what you're talking about.
Yes, yes, yes. But
So
what happens is,
so this is wait, let me finish. This is a scalp trailing, meaning you're aiming for scalp positions. So what happens when you get the minor intraday pullback and you've now trailed your stop and you've now taken profit, right? But then what if then scalp structure shifts again?
yeah,
So it really depends. Are you looking for a minor intraday? I mean, for an intraday trade, a swing trade, right? Because when I'm looking at swing trades, I'm not trying to scale my position, or I'm not trying to trail my stop via M1 breaks or structure, right? So you have to know what kind of trade you're going after to know how to manage it, right? So if my position is here and I see this, then I would probably only trail my stop to the first solidified low because I know that I'm break even and I know that if I continue to trail my stop, I will potentially get an SL hit and then maybe have the real move occur.
yeah, right. I know this. I was just telling you this
Uh huh.
because you said that why you were using this concept on those smaller time frames. That's why I
Uh huh.
told you that. Yeah.
Okay.
because I target mostly this scalp targets only while doing this. So that's why I was using this concept on 1 minute and
Uh-huh.
30 seconds. So I told
Okay.
you that.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So are you still confused?
No, no, no. I got it.
Okay, cool. Cool. Let's see, let me delete this. But yeah, if you see most of the calls, you can use solidified lows, highs, lows in your scalp micro time frames, but I mainly use the concept for directional bias. Right, so it's not just about knowing how to use the concept, it's knowing where to use it, if that makes sense.
Yes, thanks.
And then entries, that's models, management, etc., risk management, all that. But yeah, do you guys have any more questions? Cool, no more questions? So for the people that don't know, today is the RCV Instagram's 2-year anniversary. The Instagram opened 2 years ago today. Like that's the date of the first post, and I opened the page on the date of the first post. So yeah, time flies. Like holy fuck. But anyways, we're gonna do a giveaway on Instagram, and it's gonna be 2 books and a 10% coupon. But if an RCVisionaries member wins, that 10% coupon could probably just be given to somebody else. And the reason why I did 10% is because that's less than the amount that the previous RCV members had, which was 15%. And so I think that's fair. And yeah, I think it's a decent idea. But I am going to do 2 books, and those 2 books we've already chosen them. It's Ray Dalio's Principles book, and what was the title of the other one? Ray. It was Think Fast and Slow. So what I'm going to do is, I mean, I hope one of you guys wins. If I'm being honest, I honestly don't want to give other people a discount for obvious reasons, right? But if you guys don't want those books, I could even get you another book if you want. I could get any 2 books that you want. Yeah, they're both very, very, very good books. Very, very good books. I just heard of Think Fast and Slow today, so honestly, it might be on my bucket list soon. But yeah, I'll probably be doing that giveaway today, but I just wanted to let you guys know in advance. Yeah, he did. I heard it's a very, very good book. I heard it pretty much challenges your way of thinking. Yeah, thank you, thank you. But I mean, this wouldn't have happened without you guys, if I'm being honest. Do audiobooks? I mean, I could let people choose, bro. Doesn't really matter. Should we make a cake? We'll be alright, bro. We'll be alright. I need an award? Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Publicity is poison, bro. RCV merch store. Yeah, we'll be working on that soon. But that will be exclusively for you guys. I'm not gonna make that public. Like I think we were thinking of doing like only 50 of each piece. And if you guys would obviously get the first round, and then everybody, I mean, I would probably make the rest public, but or maybe even 25, who knows. We'll see how many people want some. Because the hoodie will definitely be the first one, and we're gonna try to make that very good quality. And I think they'll even be numbered like 1 out of 50, 2 out of 50, 3 out of 50. It'll be cool. Can you show one of your model, please? No, I've answered this question before, bro. My model will not work for you if you have not tested what I have tested. Wait, but I mean, you already have your own models, bro. You know, I've seen you. I've seen your chart work. You've texted me before. Nah, I'm not doing that. And I've answered that before too. We've already been through this before. A fisher's hat. Hats might be an issue. We still haven't found anyone that can make them. Yeah, but we'll see. Well, that'll be with time. I mean, I have a lot to do. I still have a lot of I still have a couple of videos to make for you guys. I still have to um do a lot of other things. I have school starting next week. I have to do a lot of stuff before I can think about that. Yeah, we'll resolve that with time. But right now I have to do a bunch of more stuff. But yeah, I mean, I can't stay too long. I have to be at the I have to go to the gym, then I have to go to the bank right afterwards. So I have an appointment. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Cool. Cool, cool. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys on Tuesday.